Happy New Year, Telly Lovers! I hope you're ready to talk some Telly. Today, I'm going to get you up to speed on 3 of the most amazing series that are scheduled to leave us in 2023. Now, if you haven't already seen them, I've done a couple of other related videos recently on the shows we welcomed and said farewell to in 2022. Click on the links on the right-hand side of the screen and give them a go. And while you're at it, if you love British telly as much as I do, subscribe to my channel so that you can stay informed of the latest programs. And without further ado, let's review where these 3 particular shows left off at their last season and what we know about the final season to air this year. For 5 seasons, The Crown has riveted us with the remarkable life of the late Queen Elizabeth II. With her death in September of 2022, it seems like an especially poignant time to conclude the series. The first couple of seasons took us through the years 1947 and 1967. Key events included the death of King George VI, the ascension of Elizabeth, her marriage to Philip, the terms of a few prime ministers, and the birth of her children. Seasons 3 and 4 focused on the next 20 or so years and a number of events such as the intrigues surrounding the KGB, continued alliance with the United States, the ups and downs of Prince Margaret, the election of Margaret Thatcher, and the love triangle between Charles, Diana, and Camilla. Speeding up to season 5, which takes place from 1991 to 1997, the focus is principally on Princess Diana. We learn a bit about the history of the Al Fayed family, Princess Diana's meeting with Dodi Al Fayed, her relationship with Hasnat Khan, the Martin Bashir interview, and her divorce from Charles. All the while, the Queen's reactions and opinions are an integral part of the story. We don't have an exact date for the 6th and final series yet, but filming is underway, and the show will be available to stream on Netflix sometime in 2023, probably late in the year. This is welcome news for all the Crown addicts out there, as series creator Peter Morgan had earlier said that season 5 would be the last. So what do we know about the final season so far? Well, in keeping with how previous seasons were organized, season 6 will feature the same cast as season 5. That includes Imelda Staunton, Jonathan Pryce, Leslie Manville, Dominic West, Olivia Williams, and Elizabeth Debicki. It's also expected that the characters of Prince William, Prince Harry, and Kate Middleton will be introduced. The season will most likely begin in 1997 and portray the next decade or so of the royal's life, again in keeping with previous seasons. So we can also expect it to cover the death of Princess Diana in 1997 and Charles and Camilla's eventual marriage in 2005. As this time period also coincides with Tony Blair's term as Prime Minister, it will also most certainly feature some key events from his term in office, such as the September 11th attacks and the subsequent wars on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. The final series, though, will not include people or events closer to the present day. So all you Harry and Meghan fans, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Creator Peter Morgan has said that he prefers to capture historical figures 20 plus years out so that the dust has had enough time to settle. I think this season will provide some resolution to the Charles and Diana relationship, but overall I hope it will also pull together the previous seasons and leave us with a larger sense of how these characters and events from 1947 all the way to 2007 create a larger picture or legacy of who Elizabeth II was behind that royal mask. That would really be satisfying to see. And don't fret, when the final season comes out, I'll be here ready to share my in-depth analysis with you all, so don't forget to subscribe so you'll be in the loop too. If you haven't yet seen this gritty crime drama, I highly recommend you start giving it a go. It's a brilliantly scripted and acted story about the world of drug dealing and gang violence in a London estate or housing project, and then its expansion into new territory. It's kind of like Britain's answer to The Wire. If you remember, the show was originally a Channel 4 production and was canceled after the first 2 seasons until rapper Drake had the show revived. Those 2 first seasons were renamed Top Boy Summer House on Netflix. 2 more seasons were produced by Netflix and take place several years after the first 2 seasons, so remember that the final season will be billed as season 3 on Netflix upon release. All 4 seasons focus on the main characters of Duchesne and Sully as the Summer House gang leaders, and the lengths they go to top one another in the drug dealing game. Season 3 sees both characters returning to the streets, Duchesne from Jamaica and Sully from prison, where they reconnect and reluctantly team up to reestablish and expand their territory. We also met Jamie, a young teen who's struggling to provide for his 2 younger brothers by selling drugs after their parents died. In time, he starts partnering with Duchesne and eventually goes to prison. Flash forward to season 4, Jamie becomes a bigger character. He's released from prison and is sent by Duchesne to Spain and Morocco to scope out business prospects for new suppliers. Meanwhile, back in London, Duchesne is in a relationship with his mother's caregiver, Shelley, and he struggles with his mother's failing health while facing her shame over his unlawful vocation. Duchesne has a new second-in-command, Jack, who helps her sister Lauren escape an abusive relationship with Curtis, a weapons dealer from Liverpool. And this kicks off a new war with Curtis and his sister and their crew until Lauren eventually kills Curtis. Sully has kind of gone off the deep end, and he seems more unpredictable by the day. He becomes wary of Jamie and Duchesne, and he suggests to Duchesne that they go their separate ways at one point. In the heartbreaking final scene of the season, he kills Jamie right in front of his younger brothers, who had been urging him to leave the violent gang life behind. And here's what we know about the final season so far. It sounds like there are going to be a total of 6 episodes. There were some delays in production last year, which some attributed to creative differences between Kane Robinson and the writers over the fate of his character Sully. But Netflix has stated this is not true and that the show is continuing as planned to release sometime in 2023, although a definitive date is not yet available. The original cast will continue with some additions like Barry Keoghan and Brian Gleeson, who will perhaps play up that Irish drug supplier side of the story. In terms of the storyline, the word epic has been used. There are sure to be a lot of plot twists and surprises, as well as character development during this last season. Over almost a decade, these characters have grown in different ways, really coming into their own despite suffering tragic setbacks and losses. And with this being just this raw, dark show, some bloodshed and loss of life is just a certainty. With Jamie's murder, I expect the final season will amount to a showdown between Duchesne and Sully, a final battle for the top boy crown. Duchesne is still grieving his mother, and now Jamie's death may just put him over the edge. He's always been the calm and collected strategist of the two, so it's possible Sully will just push him to bolder or more impulsive actions. He's also been clutching his chest a lot more, so it's possible that all the stress will lead to a major health event. Sully, on the other hand, has always been more of a dark horse. He's been suspicious of Jamie and also resentful toward Duchesne for not treating him as an equal partner. But he's got more to lose now with his daughter in the picture. I feel like either way, seeing him undermine Duchesne by killing Jamie is just the tip of the iceberg. I think Lauren and Jack are also super interesting parallels to Sully and Duchesne. They ended the last season resolving the tension between them and pledging loyalty to each other and strengthened their bond that way. I have this feeling that they're going to play increasingly larger roles in the final season. But it's still anybody's game. The London of Top Boy is a place where just about anything can happen or change in the blink of an eye. So who knows what the final season will hold? Tell me your predictions in the comments below. It's been nearly 7 years since the last season of Happy Valley, but it's worth the long wait to see this mainstay of British television finally come to a conclusion. Despite the long gap between seasons, it's still one of the most talked about and most anticipated endings for a British series that I've ever seen. The amazing Sarah Lancashire returns as Sergeant Catherine Kaywood, who's hunting down her daughter's rapist, Tommy Lee Royce, played by the incredible James Norton. In season 1, we learn that Catherine believes her daughter Becky was raped by Tommy Lee, which resulted in a pregnancy and the birth of her son Ryan. Shortly after Ryan's birth, Becky died by suicide. Although there are other crime mysteries in both season 1 and season 2, the friction between Catherine and Tommy Lee is really the overarching plot. Season 2 focuses on some subplots regarding a serial killer, as well as a murder committed by someone from within the police department. Between Catherine and Tommy Lee, who is still in prison for his offenses related to the Ann Nevison case, there's still a lot of upheaval, especially regarding Tommy Lee's desire to have a relationship with Ryan. He manipulates a teacher at Ryan's school to convince him to stay in touch. He sends him gifts, and they exchange letters. In one of the last scenes of season 2, Catherine is talking about the serial murderer who's discovered by his mother in one of the season's subplots. She wonders what it must be like to know that your child is an aberration. In the final scene, as Catherine is out walking with her family, she's watching Ryan and she gets this look in her eyes as if she's wondering about whether Ryan might bear some similarities to his dad. Remember back in season 1, he had difficulties with anger at school and violent outbursts as well. And here's what we know about the final season of Happy Valley. The show already made its return to our screens on January 1st, technically. Unfortunately, although the first episode has aired in the UK though, at the time of this video, it isn't yet available to stream in the US. What we do know from the trailer that is out now shows that all the characters are clearly older. Catherine is nearing retirement, and Ryan looks like a teenager. And I expect this last season will take the storyline of Ryan and Tommy Lee's relationship further and explore if and how they connect. And also, I think there will be some resolution around the justice that Catherine is waiting for. Remember that although Tommy Lee has been in prison, he's never served time for what he did to Becky. So maybe there will finally be some proof or a confession. I think we'll continue to have some lighter moments too, like the romance between Claire and Neil, and the interesting people that Catherine comes across in her work as a police officer. Catherine is a strong and no-nonsense, but kind-hearted and often hilarious woman. She's really the heart of the show, and I'm rooting for her, and I hope that she gets the closure and peace she deserves at the end of the season. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I hope I've gotten you excited to see how these 3 very impressive shows end over the coming year, and maybe even rewatch the previous seasons to get ready for the finales. I'll surely be covering each of these final seasons as the year progresses, so if you're a fan, hit the subscribe button now so that I can chat to you some more when the time comes. In the meantime, have a wonderful start to 2023, and as always, thanks a million for watching, and ta for now.